The one thing that I did that allowed me to transform not only my body, but my mind and got me exactly where I am today was rewiring my brain. Now, your brain is the most powerful asset that you will ever have. Most people are fighting against their brain. Now, like I just said, it's the most powerful asset. Imagine how hard it is to battle that every single day. The people that make it, that transform, that succeed, that go wherever it is that they're trying to go are the ones who know how to work in tandem with their brain. If you cannot get a grip on your brain, your thoughts, your emotions, and you cannot gain control, you will never be able to get where you're trying to go, make the transformation, or reach that goal that you're trying to reach. I want you to think of your brain as a car. It is essentially the vehicle that will take you wherever it is that you want to go, whatever the goal is. Now, if you clicked on this video, it's probably some sort of physique transformation goal or mindset transformation, but this applies to literally any goal that you're trying to reach. Now, when I say think of the brain as a vehicle, I want you to also know that you have the freedom to construct whatever vehicle you want. Now, a more complex, better jet engine kind of vehicle is going to take more work on your part to construct versus if you're driving some lemon or junker that breaks down all the time, you're going to be struggling a lot in reaching your goals. You're probably going to have to take more breaks. You're probably going to give up because the car keeps breaking down. You get fucking sick and tired of it. But when you take the proper steps to be able to craft that V8 turbo engine, that Ferrari or whatever your car is, your McLaren, your fucking Lambo, whatever it is, you can then have that kind of force, that kind of power, and that kind of control to get you wherever you want to go. Now, in order for you to be able to differentiate and understand what you need to change and what you need to do to be able to build a mindset like this, I'm going to contrast both of the modes of thinking that people do. Now, one mode of thinking is obviously where most people are stuck. The other mode of thinking is how the people that reach their goals, are successful, make the transformation. This is how they think. So let's first talk about where most people are stuck, how they got there, how to get out of it, and ultimately how you can build that turbo V8 engine, okay? So you can see this picture of me here, but I used to struggle a lot with binge eating habits and tendencies. I would binge drink, I would just take it way too far, and I would also smoke on and off just to quote unquote numb the pain. Now, this only perpetuated the struggling and what led to what I have a picture of here, the downward spiral. So this cycle is initially sparked by a poor mode of thinking. So a lot of the times our brain will say things that aren't necessarily true. A lot of the times it'll straight up fucking lie to us. But because we don't know any better, we take those at face value and we believe them. And it's in human nature to feel insecurity, to feel self-doubt, to feel all these things, especially when you are weak-minded. And because you don't know any better, you feel these thoughts. You don't even second guess it. You don't think twice. You believe that thought and then you take an action. So for me, I am going to admit I was not very consistent. I was not very disciplined and I hated how that made me show up. I did not like the person that I was, not only for myself, but just the person that I was in relationships, the way that I carried myself, the way that I handled situations. I thought that I had a very poor character in that sense. Not meaning to talk down on younger me. I'm just saying I was struggling with things and I really didn't like it. And I didn't really take accountability for it, and I just believed all the things that my brain was saying. I would constantly hear a lot of self-doubt in my mind, questioning, can you do this? Telling me that, I'm a bad person for drinking all the time or for binge eating, or that I'm weak because I simply can't fucking put the bag of chips away, or that I'm weak because I can't not go out and drink with my friends, or that I can't handle certain things. Like all these things that I was saying to myself and just leading myself to believe, because as soon as I heard it in my mind, I was like, oh yeah, that's right, I am a bad person. Like I drink all the time and I fucking don't like how I look in the mirror, and it's just like a fucking sorry fuck I am. That's literally how it sounded. And I heard that, and instead of redirecting, reframing, acknowledging it, sitting there processing it and thinking, I heard that. It made me feel so uncomfortable. I didn't even take a second to think. I just believed it, and then I started taking that action, which was the drinking, the binge eating, the coping. And then that thought arose again when I was sober, when I wasn't eating, when I woke up the next morning and realized, oh man, like, God, I wish I didn't do that stuff. And then that action reinforced those thoughts or caused those thoughts to pop up again. And then that cycle starts. And you can't break the pattern if you're unaware of the pattern and you don't have the knowledge or the tools to get out of it. Now, most people can't get out of this pattern just because they don't know any better. Like, this is how the human brain is wired, and unfortunately, it is uncomfortable and difficult to build a strong mindset and to pull yourself out of this hole. But once you do it and you understand this, it makes it very, very hard for you to slip back into it. It's a level of self awareness that not many people have, but it is the distinction between whether you achieve your goals and get there or not. So, here in this photo, I'm doing the action or the coping of the beliefs that I have about myself because I just had thoughts and I took them at face value. That led for me to have a lack of control. My brain can tell me whatever the fuck that it wants, and I'm going to believe it, and then that's going to cause me to take X action, and then that's going to lead for me to have the life that I do. And so I have absolutely no control. Like, my brain, it lies to me, it doesn't always tell me the truth, it doesn't have my best interest at heart, and me just blindly following it as if it's the fucking law, that I have no control in what I want to do. I just have to be limited by what my brain thinks I can do versus what it thinks I can't. And newsflash, your brain thinks you can't do much because it doesn't want to. It doesn't want to be uncomfortable. It doesn't want to be challenged. It wants to quite literally sit on the couch and watch fucking TV, probably. And that's not going to lead for you to get where you want to be. And this also leads to poor decision making. When you have a very rigid way of thinking and you think that whatever your brain tells you is true, obviously you're going to make poor decisions because you're not going to be able to see with logic, you're going to see with emotion. And when your actions are rooted on random thoughts that you didn't even second guess or question, you're going to be led down the path of making poor decisions, as I was here. I felt something, I decided to believe it without questioning it or exploring it or trying to figure out where this is coming from. Just believed it, took the action, it led for me to binge drink, binge eat, smoke, do whatever it is that I wanted because the thoughts that I had were so uncomfortable and a little bit painful to have. And when you have no control and you're making all these poor decisions and you don't know why and you think that that's all you can do because you believe every thought that you have, you're not going to have any clarity. You're not going to know why you're thinking the things that you do because you never took a second to explore that. You just believed it. So you're not going to know why you do the things that you do. Therefore, you're not going to be able to build internal leadership to lead yourself to the goals that you want to reach. If you don't know yourself, you don't know why you have these feelings, why you think this about yourself, why you have the thoughts that you do. And then on top of that, you're blindly fucking believing them and then taking actions based off something that you didn't even think about clearly or take a second to pause and actually analyze. You're not going to really know how to get out. You're going to feel lost because you're moving essentially through life on autopilot, never taking a second to pause and analyze and think and try to figure out what's going on. I'm saying this is how you fall into a hole, but most times people don't even know that they're in the fucking hole. Like, they have no clue. They just feel lost, helpless, and they think that this is just how it's going to be forever. And so they start imposing these limits on themselves, which is essentially what caps them from transforming. If I'm being completely honest, just having something as strong as the human brain is advantageous when you know how to use it. Especially because most goals that people want to reach have living, breathing human proof that it's been done before. So if you can see someone who has done what you want to do and they have the same fucking human brain that you do, just know that there is a way for you to harness that same mindset and utilize that power to get where you want to go. And the tip of the iceberg here, you're not going to have any direction. So not only are you downwardly spiraling into a hole, the hole is also pitch fucking black. You're not going to know which way's up, which way's down. There's no fucking gravity. You won't know how to get out. And the culmination of all these bullet points here, plus the little negative loop that you're stuck in, is really hard to dig yourself out of. And the reason why it's hard to dig yourself out of is because you have to think. There's a quote that goes along the lines of, the hardest thing you can do is think. That's why no one does it. Most people are operating their lives on autopilot, lacking self-awareness, and stuck somewhere in this loop. And when you're coping and you're numbing the pain with things like food, drinking, distractions, you forget that you're in the loop. And you start to forget your purpose and your sense of fulfillment and the things that you truly want, the things that truly matter to you. It makes it even harder for you to get out of it because you're spending almost 90% of your time coping because you don't want to face the reality of the situation. But something that I can share with you that will give you hope is that when you are self-aware and you fix these problems and you're able to have the second mode of thinking that I'm going to show you here in a second, you are no longer controlled by your emotions. You no longer feel helpless. You no longer have the lack of clarity or the lack of direction. You still feel things. Not by no means am I telling you that you're going to become a numb robot, but there's a different mode of thinking that can allow you to feel things and actually utilize that to your advantage rather than let it be what controls every move that you make. Because in this scenario, you are not in control. In this scenario, your beliefs and whatever your brain wants you to do is what is in control. And you will not be able to succeed or make progress until you gain that control and essentially get a fucking grip. So let's go ahead and move into the positive spiral or the positive feedback loop. Now, the good thing about these loops is that a loop is usually very hard to escape. And once you get yourself into this positive loop, it'll be much easier for you to stay here. Not only because you've started the loop, you've gained momentum, and you've got all this going for you to push you in the right direction, but also because you'll have the level of self-awareness and understanding of not only, yourself, but also how the human brain is wired, how it works, so that you can get it to work in your favor. So here you're equipped with the positive momentum pushing you forward and also the knowledge and understanding of the human brain so that it can't derail you anymore. Everyone's biggest obstacle is themselves and basically keeping themselves out of that loop. And unfortunately, your brain will do everything it can to get you in that negative loop. The process of achieving absolutely any goal, whether it be fitness, career, monetary, personal goal, educational goal, is the act of conquering yourself. They are all the same and they all require you to be able to conquer what your biggest mental weaknesses are, because all those goals require consistency and discipline to the logical set in place plan that is easily findable through information, knowledge, and data from other people or on the internet. The consistency, the discipline, and the perseverance that you need to be able to achieve those goals and those plans to get wherever it is that you want to go is determined by the way that you think. Most people cannot execute on the plan because they lack the discipline, the consistency, and the perseverance required because they're stuck in that negative loop of thinking that I just showed you guys. You guys know here on this channel, 50% of this shit is a fucking psychological battle. The other 50% is the protocol in achieving those goals. So training, nutrition, all the recovery protocols, all those things. If you don't acknowledge this and you don't change the way that you think and you don't become aware of how much your brain can actually derail you, you will always be fucking struggling. I'm telling it to you like this, not to be an asshole, not to talk down on you, but because this is what younger me needed to hear. One of the best things that you can do for someone, especially yourself, is execute tough love. So whenever I talk like this, or you hear me really trying to hit a nail on the head with my point, just know it is out of tough love. Somebody has to tell you the truth. Somebody has to make you aware. Somebody's got to call you out, because that is what I needed. I needed someone to call me out. I needed someone to make me aware. And I needed someone to tell me that I was the fucking problem. The way that I was thinking was exactly why I couldn't get where I wanted to be. Now, this is the one thing that I changed that actually led for me to make progress, keep the progress, and continue on the journey. I have been consistent for years. Like I said at the beginning of this video, you are building a vehicle. You want to make sure that it's fucking good and it can take you where you want to go. It requires time, it requires effort, and it requires a lot of sacrifice for you to be able to build this. And when I say sacrifice, I mean willing to feel things that are painful by admitting to yourself that you aren't perfect, that yes, you do have a reason to be insecure about certain things, but all of those things can be fixed. You're going to be okay. When you avoid it because you're scared, you're only perpetuating that negative loop more. So now let's get into creating the positive loop and what you should do when you have certain thoughts and how you should handle this situation to be able to build that vehicle and keep your mindset in a positive state so you're always on the upward spiral. So let's say last night, maybe you had a binge eating episode, or maybe you just couldn't put the food down. You knew you didn't want to eat it, but you did it anyways. And then it was one bag of chips after the other, after the other, after the other, and you just couldn't get a grip. Now, that is the action that was caused by a thought that led for you to just instantly believe it. You wake up the next morning and you're beating yourself up and you're like, oh my God, like, I'm so undisciplined. I can't believe I couldn't get control of myself. Like, what is wrong with me? Like, what is my problem? Why do I do that? And so you think that and you're just like, I guess I'm just not fucking capable of it because I can't seem to stop fucking doing that shit. Like, I just don't understand. Like, it's so fucking hard for me. So you think that and you start feeling insecure and you start feeling some self-doubt and you just believe it. You're just like, oh, okay. And then that leads for you to feel bad about it. And you're like, oh my God, I'm stuck being this person. I'm always going to struggle with binge eating. I don't know if I'm ever going to conquer it. I can't ever get myself out of it. It's so hard. Like, it's going to be really hard for me to achieve the things I want to achieve and with my physique and stuff if I can't even put the chips down when I want to. And so then you feel that all day and feel so upset with yourself. And then it leads for you to binge again. Or maybe the next night you go and drink. And you have a bunch of drinks, you get super drunk, and you're just like, oh, and you feel better. And then the next morning you wake up and you're like, God, I can't believe I had that many drinks last night. I'm so hungover. God, my head hurts. I'm probably not going to be able to work today. I'm probably not going to be able to go to the gym. Oh, I can't believe I spent that much money on drinks. Like, and I can't believe that I drank that much. God, I'm just a terrible person. Or like, I don't think that I'm ever going to be able to be the person that I want to be, right? Like, especially with those habits. And so you think those again. But this time, what I want you to do is when you feel that, right? You drank a lot last night or you binge ate and you wake up in the morning and you're just like, God, I fucking suck, or I'm a shitty person, or I'm just so weak. Whatever it is that you think. I want you to explore that thought instead of just being like, oh yeah, I am weak. Okay, I'm going to go drink to numb that. Explore that. Okay, I'm thinking that I'm weak and I feel so anxious right now and I feel so frustrated and I'm upset. And I'm fearful, I'm scared, I have this pit in my stomach. What is that? Right after a night of maybe binge eating or a night of binge drinking, or maybe you smoked and you let go of your goals. You let go of the side of where you want to be. And that is making you upset. Explore that, okay? I'm upset because I couldn't seem to stop my binge last night. And for some reason, like, I knew I didn't want to eat that, but I did it anyways. And so now that you've Analyze that. Okay, that's where that feeling is coming from within me. And I know that it was caused by this action, whether it be the drinking, the binge eating, the bad habit, the self sabotage, whatever it is that you do, right? Those are just examples that are specific to me. You then look at those things that you're doing and then you start unpacking those and exploring that. Okay, why did I go out and drink that night? Because I was really unhappy and frustrated with how I binged that night before and I just couldn't handle anymore. You were binging and it led for you to want to go drink because you were so unhappy with yourself. So now let's figure out, why did you binge? What was that about? Well, I mean, I had a really stressful day at work and I just needed some relief. Or I just, I deserved it, right? But then you couldn't stop because now you're utilizing food as a dopamine hit instead of what it's supposed to do, which is fuel you. And so right there, we're able to identify that you need a better way of handling stress because that caused that whole domino effect that perpetuates that negative loop. And so the first thing that you need to do is detach yourself from that. You're not a bad person because you drank alcohol or because you struggled with coping or because you binged or because any of those things. You're not bad. You're not incapable. It was an occurrence that happened and that's it. So when you fail or you quote unquote fail or you make a mistake, look at it objectively. Detach yourself from all the emotions that you may feel about yourself because that's not who you are. It is just something that you did because of something that caused you stress or discomfort or any uncomfortable emotion. And so you decided to do something to cope with it. And so now you've realized that I'm not a bad person because I do those things. Now that removes the pressure and all the weight that's on your back when it comes to those things. You're going to make mistakes. That's totally fine. But you always need to remain detached from those mistakes. They say absolutely nothing about you apart from the fact that maybe you need to get better at handling stress. Maybe you need to get better at showing up. Maybe you need to get better at being consistent. But that isn't the end of the world. You're going to be okay. You're going to live. And when you remove that pressure, instead of berating yourself and telling yourself, well, I'm inconsistent, I'm not disciplined, I fucking suck, I'm weak, I don't know what to do, I'm helpless. Instead of thinking those things about yourself, think about the instance that occurred. I binged because I had a stressful day at work. That is just data. That is just something that happened. That is just teaching you what you need to do to be able to get yourself where you want to be. Now, if you don't struggle with binging, it can be whatever it is. But for me, again, that's the specific example. So now instead of thinking, my God, I fucking suck because I binged, I'm thinking, okay, I'm not good at handling stress. Let me figure out things that I can do to increase my capacity or my tolerance for stress. So right now, I practice diaphragmatic breathing when I have a stressful time. I will sit there and I will take deep breaths and I will allow myself a moment to process and to think before I just start acting on it. But if I'm sitting here being so mean to myself and beating myself up because I did something wrong or I made a mistake, all it really is doing is teaching me where I'm lacking and then I can fix it. Remove your emotions from how you feel. You're going to make mistakes. And a mistake is wasted when you don't learn from it. And you're probably going to fucking make it again. So detach yourself from what is actually happening. Detach yourself from the action and remind yourself to look at it objectively. I did this because of this, and that is that. It doesn't define who I am. I can become better. I cannot do those things if I want to. I just need to work on becoming better. So that's not a problem for me. That's literally it. So when you have those thoughts, those insecurities, those things that would typically, if you believe them at face value, drive you to a coping mechanism or a self-sabotaging action, explore it. Allow yourself to sit with it and not be so overwhelmed by it and just sit there and be like, okay, why am I feeling this? What happened? Why did this happen? Boom, bam, done. Let's fix it. That's it. You don't need to sit there, beat yourself up, berate yourself, and fall into this pit of despair and rumination because you feel like you're not a good enough person because you made a mistake. You will make mistakes. It's okay. Take that shit on the chin, get up, learn from it so it doesn't happen again. That's the best thing that you can do. It's not really about minimizing how many times you fall. You will get knocked on your ass by things in your control and out of your control. The best thing and the best skill that you can learn is how you can get up faster every single time. Once you explore, look at what made you feel that way. So the drinking example, you drank last night and then you woke up feeling anxious because you had way too many drinks and you knew that it was adverse to the goals that you wanted to reach. Boom, you found the answer. Now you know, maybe I should drink a little bit less. Or maybe I should figure out what drove me to drink and really address that and fix it. After you identify the root cause, you can utilize that exact moment as a lesson to teach you what not to do in the future. Hey, I feel really frustrated with myself when I do this certain action, or I self-sabotage, or I have this habit. What is it that's causing that, and how can I not do it? Because I've noticed that it makes me feel this way. It makes me feel like I'm not a good person. It makes me feel like I am anxious. It makes me feel like I have no control, like I'm insecure, like I'm inconsistent. Okay, what are those things so we can work on not doing them? Now, this is easy to understand, but hard to implement. But most people don't even get to this point where they understand how their brain operates and how it thinks. And they also don't understand how to get out of this situation. So you have a thought and you pause and you explore. Instead of blindly believing it and then acting on that, you then find the root cause after you've explored why you're feeling the way that you are. And then when you understand the root cause, you can utilize that as a learning experience to figure out how you can get out of this and how you can make sure that that thought or that feeling doesn't happen again. So in this upward spiral, you are detached from the things that happened. Everything is data, whether you fail, whether you succeed. There's no way that you should feel about it, because when you base your things off of emotions and how you feel, and you pair that with the things that the human brain naturally thinks, like self-doubt, insecurity, fear, you're gonna fall into that downward spiral. So you need to be able to look at everything from a data-driven approach, because in reality, that's what it is. And so when you do this, you're then allowed to have full control, because no matter what thoughts or feelings your brain throws at you, you give yourself the time and the ability to explore it and figure it out. So you kind of neutralize the threat at hand so that you don't make stupid or poor decisions. This will lead for you to have clear answers and clear direction, and give you the ability to be able to build internal leadership and lead you where you want to go. You can't lead yourself if you don't know yourself, and you can't know yourself if you believe every single thought that comes from your brain, because in all reality, your brain just makes shit up. It's not true. It doesn't know. And when you remind yourself that neither your success nor your failures define you, you don't have as many feelings about the mistakes that you make. The more mistakes that you make, the better you get, because like I said, it is all data. This is how you gain full control of your mind. You feel tired, you feel unfocused, you feel like you're lacking discipline, you don't feel like you want to do it. That is just a feeling. Explore it, analyze it, figure out why, and then figure out the root cause. What made you feel that? And then use it to your advantage to learn from it. You have two choices. Either you can let these emotions, these feelings, the insecurity, the doubt grip on you, or you can get a grip on it. You can get a grip on your mind and get yourself where you want to go. Your brain is your most powerful asset that you have, and if you are not using it, you are leaving success on the table, and it's most likely working against you, which is going to lead for you to fail every single time. If you're struggling to reach your goals or struggling to get where you want to be, I promise you this is what you're missing, and this is the change that you are not making. If you want to work one-on-one with me so I can coach you through this and ultimately help you build your dream physique as well as strengthening your mindset, I will leave the application in the description of this video. If you're a good fit and spots are available, I will be personally reaching out to you. 2026 is right around the corner. Now is the time to start getting yourself out of this fucking spiral and building positive momentum so you can upward spiral into 2026. I promise you guys, a lot of the answers and the things that you are looking for lie within your mindset, the way that you think, and the way that you view the world. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love y'all so much that I'm willing to give you guys tough love, even if it's hard for you to hear. I will see you guys in the next video.